All right, let's get into the more serious news of sitting American President Joe Biden falling off his bike just hours ago on his weekend getaway to Delaware in front of a sea of cameras. Now, the video is spreading like wildfire, as I think it would no matter who the president was in this situation. And just like last year, his trip up the stairs to Air Force One, which we talked about at the time, it's making lots of news. But it looks like he was trying to rest his foot on the pedal as he was stopping to greet people, and it got stuck and he basically lost his balance and tipped over. Luckily, it appears he was okay, and Secret Service appears to have helped him up really quickly, and he continued greeting a child waiting to see him. So it looks like everything's good. It continues getting harder to watch because I cannot help but think of my own grandparent falling, but maybe Joe has more physical challenges than mental, maybe, but not likely. So, if so, then maybe they should limit him to not so risky physical movement that could leave him vulnerable like this and focus on keeping him mentally well through less demanding physical exercise. Now, the same goes with his little Obama esque, the little jog he does when he doesn't really need to. I just think they should stop trying to overcompensate for all the talk of him being old. This stuff kind of makes it worse and puts that even more in the spotlight and doesn't really accomplish what I think they're trying to accomplish of setting up these moments to make him look younger. I think it's just putting him in a vulnerable state and actually making it look worse. Also, I think his bike rides as president are not the same as you and I going for a bike ride. He basically is on a Tour de France, on a Tour de France route every time he goes out because of all the security and all the people watching him and all the roads that need to be closed, which I can imagine adds many layers for even the average person or even a pro to be biking in. And even though I've been critical of him, I'm not going to hold it against Joe if he just starts taking it easy. You don't need to show off how young you are. No one voted for you because you were young, in my opinion. And you don't need it. Just walk everywhere. Use the hand railing. That's okay. Use the hand railing to walk up the steps. You don't need to run up the steps. You don't need to run from Marine One to the White House or from Air Force One to wherever. It's okay. Also, I will say, I am sick of the double standard we've seen with coverage of Biden versus Trump. And I know it is wrong because I can bet if something like this happened with President Trump, it would be a completely different story in the media. But we have seen some cracks in the media who traditionally have been boosting Biden as this, or at least not covering his kind of gaffes that have been common since he was on the campaign trail, where some networks are starting to feel out if they should question the president's health. I think they also have a hidden agenda that he's been bad for the country. There's a lot of things going on, so maybe they're testing a way to get him out of office. I don't know. But again, I can't help but think if my grandparent was the one in Joe's position on the world stage, I would be horrified seeing this. And I don't know how I would handle this, but I would like to think I would get ahead of this and not let it get to this point, considering myself and many others saw Joe on the campaign trail visibly different, both physically and mentally, than his time as vice president. I also am sick of Joe's weekend getaways not being scrutinized the way Trump's golfing outings were on his own courses, because at least on a golf course, you can have a meeting on the green and it's a little more relaxed and not as intense of an outing. But last time I checked, you can't do that very easily on a bike. Just saying. But then again, I did peep here who looks to be Elizabeth Warren, Senator Elizabeth Warren, riding alongside President Biden in her purple jacket, which is very, I want to say iconic of her, maybe. I don't know if that's the right word, but I do think Joe's health is becoming a national security issue, unless he is just the front man and not actually running the show. But still, that is concerning too, because it means that they're actually purposely putting out a guy as the front man displaying weakness for America to the rest of the world, including lowering the confidence of our allies and increasing vulnerability in our enemies' eyes. Now, final word on this. I have seen theories floating around that this was embraced by the media to distract more from the problems the Biden administration is facing in an election year where Trump is currently on the campaign trail with massive crowds campaigning for candidates all over the country. This gives a top story for media to cover if they don't want to cover Trump and his candidates or cover up the failed January 6th hearings that have been going on last week, or even the latest news of Stephen Colbert, late night talk show host, and his staffers, some of his staffers being arrested on Capitol Hill for a quote unquote breach. I don't know. Although I don't think or hope the actual administration would want to plan something like this, their guy falling in public, I do think the media isn't exactly mad about it. But now I want to throw it to you. Let me know what you think of this and who do you think is responsible for this mess? I want to know in the comment section. Thank you for joining me for this news live chat segment taken from the full broadcast. As always, click around the channel for more. Thank you for having me in your online life, and I will talk to you in the next one.